also interesting facts about naming customs around the world. The first one we're going to look at is all the way from Korea. Now, Korean names are written with the family name first. Now, if Yeon Suk has the family name Lee, his name will be written Lee Yeon Suk. The given name usually has two parts, and it follows the family name. Either part of the given name can be generation marker, so a two-part given name should not be shortened. That is, Lee Yeon Suk should be called Yeon Suk, not Yeon. Yeah. I learned this having to have, Asian students under my care when I was a lecturer. Chinese students, Korean students, that kind of thing. So, so this one is quite interesting, So I used to make the mistake, for instance, in this case, Lee Yeon Suk. I used to make the mistake, using the English way of reading names by calling like Lee, how are you? And they'd be like, no, my name is Yeon Suk. And I'm like, boy, it says Lee here. And then it says, yeah, that's, understand. So
that's how our naming system is, sir.
Written, exactly. It says, sir.
in case you don't want to understand, sir. No, that's not how we call it.
Respect yourself, sir.
Please. you know the way when we're in primary school and then we'd put our surname first before our main name, like, oh, what's your name? My name is Oladepo Omobolade. And then before, when we started growing up, we realized that our first name comes first.
British style.
Yeah, yes, of course. First name comes first, and then your surname. And then sometimes your middle name, that is if you have other names. Do you know that some people don't have middle names?
I find that interesting.
Yeah, but anyways, let's just move to the next one.
How many names do you have?
Let me see. I am not sure. I'd have to ask my mom again. But I know I have more than 10 names.
Wow. I'm going to ask your mother.
I know that I have more than 10 names. Okay, so this next one says, Russian names have 3 parts. Russian names include a given name, a patronymic name, that is a middle name based on the father's first name, and the father's surname. So, if Viktor Alexandrovich Rachmaninoff has 2 children, his daughter's name would be Svetlana Viktorovna Rachmanova. The A at the end of 3 names shows that she is female. Her brother will be Mikhail Viktorovich Rachmaninov.
Interesting.
So, interesting.
So father gets 2 names attached to his children.
Yes, and then it keeps going and going and going. And then for females, they have the A thing that ends is, I think...
To make it effeminate.
To make it, yes. So I think there's another culture that does that. I think English does that sometimes, where they want to differentiate a male to female name. Sometimes EA, depending on what name it is. Emanuela, Daniel, Daniela, or Danielle. Depending on what's it called is. What is Anne? I'm always getting it wrong. Is it Ain or Anne?
What's that?
ANNE.
Anne.
And then it's ANN.
Anna.
No, not A.
NN. That's still Anne. You know the E is silent in both cases. So it depends on the spelling that your parents gave you.
Also, there's ANN.
And the origin of
the name. Okay.
Depending on cultures or whatnot.
Okay, that makes sense. ANNA Anna, then HANNA Hannah.
Yeah. So they'll say something like, so they'll say something like Anna with a H. Without the H.
Or Anne with the E. That's a movie like that.
All right, so the next one, Hindu names are based on the child's Rashish. Now, in India, Hindu names are usually based on the child's Rashis, which is determined by the position of the planets and the date and time of birth. Beautiful. The resulting names are often shortened by family and friends. For example, teachers may call brother and sister Aditya and Arushi by these former names, but family and friends may call them Adi and Ashi. Also, since India has many religious and religions and languages, and naming practices are usually influenced by them. Yeah, India has a lot of religious. They practice different religions across India, Christianity, Muslim, and then like Hinduism, and all these kind of things. Yeah. So what I find interesting about this, it says it is determined by, now Hindu names are determined by the position of the planet and the date and time of birth. That is so unique and such a poetic way to name a child.
Yes, it is though. It is. I mean, it means that you have to be very calculative. Yeah. So, all right, the child is born today. What is happening? And all of that. And then we now give a name. I like it.
I like it though. I like it. I think it's very unique.
It means that you're intentional.
Yeah.
So you know this thing where people say, oh, my parents didn't even care about my name and they just give me anything that they saw and all of that. I think it doesn't work for them because they are watching where the planet is, the time and the date, and then they're like, okay, Aditya, you are Aditya because today is Saturday. And
did you just try to make up an Indian name?
No, we just read it.
Oh, I thought you said Aditya. I'm like, is that a female version of my name?
No. I mean, if I wanted to, I could have probably said Kamal. I hear a lot of Kamal. I hear a lot of Rajesh. Yeah. A lot of, what's it called now?
There's Rupi.
Kotrapali.
Yeah. What's Rupi's full name? I wonder.
Rupi is Rupi. Money.
No. Rupi Kaur. Is that not her name? She's this singer.
Money and cow?
No. Rupees is the currency.
1 rupee?
Okay.
No? All right, let's move to the next one. Somali children have 3 personal names and no family name. Somali children have 3 personal names and no family name. In order to identify someone, all 3 names must be used. Names are a combination of a child's personal name, the father's personal name, and the paternal grandfather's personal name. I don't see, I'm beginning to get a bit upset.
Yeah, as if it was coming.
I don't see where the mother's name comes in. And it happens in, well, I don't want to be wrong, but I see a lot of cultural, beliefs and traditions that have, something against women naming children. I know that it's just now that things have been changing. Before now, I know that it's either the grandparents that are naming the child or the father that is naming the child. The woman has no, for naming children. It's now that so many things have changed where, the parents are the ones picking the name of the children. If you like, bring. If you like, don't bring. We have the names that we want to give our child and all of that. And it makes me wonder that why? I mean, what? This lady carried the child for 9 months and she doesn't have a right to name her child.
That's not really right.
It doesn't just sound right.
At the end of the day, she's also a parent, she's also one of the parents that parented this child.
Yes.
So she should have some kind of privilege. I
want to know the culture that, guides that particular system of naming.
Probably some of these cultures that we're naming that have been listed here, but it doesn't specifically say that,
Yeah, I understand.
By the way, I love your earrings.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a gift.
Yeah. All right. So the next interesting facts we have on naming customs: babies are named 100 days after birth in China. Okay, traditionally in China, babies are named 100 days after birth. This is because it is considered unlucky to name a baby before birth. Parents then use what is called a milk name before a formal given name is chosen. This name is known only by the parents or close family members. Interesting. 100 days. How many months would that be? Like 3 months?
Give or take.
Yeah.
3 months, depending.
2.5 months, something like this.
No. It's 3 months. It's 3 months, 19, 30, 31, 90. So give or take.
8 months.
Yes, 3 and a bit. And the first week.
Yeah.
So.
After 3 months.
The child is.
Anyway, it's not like the child can answer to his or her name. But one more. So they said a milk name.
But you know that there is this thing, you feel like the child is answering you when you call that child.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if you give birth to a baby Bolade,
Okay.
a baby Bolade, or more Bolade, yes.
Are you trying to psychically tell me to name my child Bolade?
Yes. When you finally have a baby Omobalade, and then I'm carrying Omobalade, I'm going to tell Omobalade that Omobalade.
Fifth name, but keep going.
What? I'm going to tell her or him because it's a unisex name.
Yeah.
And then, yes, it is. So I can say Omobalade, and then she giggles. See, she responds.
How many little Bolades do you want in your life? Like,
in my
you already have one, so can you just stay on that?
I have two, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes, so I want to have a generation of Omo Bolades.
And you are the godmother of all these Bolades. Wow, that sounds like a cult, but let's go on.
It's a beautiful one of children that adore their beautiful name because it has meaning.
Really?
We're talking about names. Names have meaning. They help you.
All right.
No?
Okay, so we're going to move on.
Fine. South Africa's Zulu naming custom. Zulu names, like most indigenous names in Southern Africa, are often given regarding the situation of the family when a child is born. This is also referred to as the home name. For example, names can denote expectations and encouragement for a baby, reflects how the family relates to others in the community, or describe the weather or setting in which the baby was born. Zulu children are named even before they are born, but after birth, an umbilical ceremony is performed. Zulus regard it as a must to perform the umbilical ceremony for every child in the family for the following reasons. 1, to introduce them to their ancestors who live in the spirit world of Unkulunkulu, to protect the child from misfortunes and to provide an opportunity for naming the child. Zulus carry more than one name, and each of these can be given by members of the extended family. This is very African. Very African. We always consider the family, the environment, everything before we name our children. I really love how, this, when the Unkulunkulu. I hope I said it right. It's
just so beautiful, like the, the cultural nuances and traditional rituals and rites of passages that are actually usually adopted in naming a person. It seems so simple, like, oh, why don't we just name him, but for some particular cultures, for some societies, for some communities, it's a big deal what a person is called. I remember on one of our training topics, we took someone that was named like Pastor.
Pastorelli and macaroni.
We're not even trying to belittle their choices.
No.
But that is, as I said, it's a community thing, it's a family thing, it's a family practice.
Yes.
It's a chosen family practice, it's a chosen community practice. All right, so we have different case studies from different parts of the world on how people's experiences of naming their child. Now, the first one is Sean from the United States of America. Sean is saying, it's really hard to write about this topic from a United States perspective. There are so many different cultures in the United States of America, each with their own naming conventions, and each one is different. I guess I would say that traditionally, the woman takes the husband's last name, and her maiden name usually doesn't appear anymore. Things are changing, though. Many women elect to hyphenate their last name. For example, Jane Doe marries John Smith, and changes her name to Jane Doe Smith instead of Jane Smith. My mother never changed her name at all. Some people thought that was weird, but it was always normal to us growing up. Middle names can also be a family tradition. The name James is the middle name of the firstborn sons on the Oliver father's side of my family, going back a long time. My middle name is James. My dad's middle name is James. My grandpa's middle name is James.
So the James tradition will continue in his own family. I think that's cool.
That's cool. The James tradition. That is very interesting, actually.
Yes.
So for sure this man's name is James. Like, you just can't, like, so for instance, if you go to a family gathering and you say, James.
They make sense to me now. Okay. So that is why you would have James the Third.
Oh, James the Fourth.
Yes, James the Fifth.
James the Eighth.
Usher Raymond is probably, I think it's Usher the Fourth.
Oh, really?
Or the Fifth or so. So I'm guessing his dad is also Usher. And
but isn't that with first names though? But like,
I don't know. Probably they have. So now you have a right to create your own tradition, your family tradition. I mean, these cultural nuances that we're talking about started from one person or one family, and it became a thing probably because people loved it, and then they started procreating and having more families, and then the patriarch of that house decided that, okay, so guys, you know what? This is what we want to go on to do as a family now, and everybody adopted it, and it became a thing worldwide. So I think that you can start your own culture.
Actually.
And tradition, and say, guys, our second names for our boys, we're going to give them James. So if somebody else comes and names their child Peter, the person is a rebel.
You're not part of this family, obviously.
We're taking custom and conversations and case studies from people all around the world, talking about what they think about their naming systems and naming traditions in their own culture. So now, in their own country, we're taking naming children in Brazil by Carla. And Carla is saying, when I got married, I changed my name. It used to be a common practice in Brazil to change your maiden name, keep your father's surname, and add your husband's last name. So instead of Carla Parente Arena, I am now Carla Arena de Aquino. However, the women have the option to keep their names or make the change. As for the choice of our kids' names, there are no rules. Some parents prefer to have a compound name like João Carlos, Luis, Guilherme, Maria Eduarda, while others keep it simple. In my case, we chose the name of our kids based more on how it sounded than any specific reason. Eduardo and Chao were our choices. We also considered the fact that these names couldn't cause any embarrassment at school for them and would be more easily pronounced in different parts of the world. However, there's some parents who will name their children in homage to their parents or grandparents, and some even like the idea of putting their male kid's name the same as the father's, adding the word junior to their names. So if the father is called Marco, the child will be called Marco Jr. There are many cases in Brazil with funny stories. Parents wanted to give their kids fancy foreign names, but when they got to the notary public to make the birth certificates of the kids, the notarial just spelled it wrong. So instead of Michael, we have Macon. For Williams, we have Wheeler. Awkward situations just for the sake of being different or trying to go beyond our cultural traditions. Interesting. Interesting how cultures from different parts look alike. I mean, I was reading through what Carla has said, and especially when she was talking about when you get married and picking or dropping your name. So for us in this part, well, I mean, we're going to have a guest that is a historian that knows so much about names, and I'll ask the questions. What I know is traditionally when you get married into a family, as a woman, you will take on the family name. So, I mean, you are leaving your father's house, so you're leaving your father's name. When you get into this new family, that is your husband's family, you're taking in either their compound name or whatever surname that he is bearing is now yours. That's what I know traditionally. However, I think it now depends on it differs from one family to another. For instance, as you've said, that was your grandparents that gave you a name. It can be different from another family. So, I think that's very interesting. There is something we call Oriki that I'm going to talk about later, but let's take more case studies.
All right. So let's have our next case study coming from Spain. Now, when a child is born in Spain, traditionally, she or he has one or two given names followed by two surnames. The second name is many times chosen to honor some close friend or family member, typically a grandfather or grandmother. The first surname is the father's first surname, and the second is the mother's first surname. The first name usually indicates the gender of the child, but the second name can be feminine for a boy or masculine for a girl. So for example, a boy's name could be Jose Maria, Joseph Mary, while a girl's name could be named Maria Jose, as in Mary Joseph. Many foreign friends have told me it was very shocking for them to know children called Jesus. When a woman gets married in Spain, she usually keeps the same surnames. Some years ago, some women changed their second surname for their husband's first surname. For example, Pepita Palutes Perez got married to Pepito Gonzalez Gomez. She would change her name to Pepita Palutes de Gonzalez. The de means she is the wife of Gonzalez. Some days after children are born, their parents have to go to the Registro Civil, the registry office. According to the Spanish legal system, a name cannot be insulting for the child, and boys have to get masculine names while girls get feminine names. It can sometimes be difficult to register a foreign name because the civil servant does not know if the name is masculine or feminine. Also, traditionally, the Bible and Greek stories were a great source of inspiration. Nowadays, they are names from cinema, sports, and even popular rock songs. That's very interesting. So, I like what I call it, the gender, nuances
for names
in Spain. So Maria Jose. So a woman can have a guy's name, so to speak. Like Joseph is not really Joseph is not really a unisex name.
I know Joseph is for the guys, and Josephine,
okay,
is for the females, or Josephina.
Josephina.
I've seen one Josephine.
But if a girl is named Joseph,
so it probably a second name. You know this way where you have Marianne.
I wonder what the masculine of Mary is.
Mario.
Hold on, don't quote me on that. I'm just.
But I think Mario is Spanish.
Yeah.
Spanish or Mexican. I'm not very
sure. Italian.
Italian?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, Mario.
I don't know the origin. I'll check the origin of Mario.
Super Mario is actually an
Italian.
Yeah.
Maybe, look, we have Daniel in Nigeria. How about that?
Daniel. Like Daniel.
Yes, Daniel.
Like Daniel Osei.
Is Daniel not Daniel?
Okay, no, okay. Well, Daniel is like an English name, isn't it?
But Daniel isn't Nigerian, is he?
No, well. Okay,
exactly. Okay. So adoption, assimilation, cultural, what's it called now? It travels from far and wide. I like that this particular case study says that people now take names from biblical references, from popular rock songs. Like you would hear people, sometimes when you ask people, so how did you get your name? My dad loved this cinema so much, and then they named us after it. Yeah. Or this particular food store, and then they named us after it, and then you would wonder. So for a typical African, it's a bit strange.
Yeah, I wonder what naming my child Begiri would feel like.
What? Why would you name? What is Begiri?
Begiri is soup. We just said cultures are changing. Like people.
You will name your child. I will not let that happen. My godchild.
Or Brokoto.